Hi everyone, this is Jason Harmon from API Intersection. And in honor of our 2 years of the podcast and our 50th episode, hard to believe, right? 50 episodes already. We're going to share the top 10 best pieces of advice we've received from these great leaders that we've had across the industry on our podcast. Enjoy!
Our strategy is broken up into 2 parts. So the first part is kind of going back and fixing the issues that have accumulated with our existing APIs. And for that, we've identified 5 key areas. And then that second part is starting to think about how we can design for the future, right? So aligning the company around those core principles and standards.
Especially for me in my role as an API product owner, to think about what are the systemic, what are the system level issues, applying systems thinking here, that would actually stop this problem from coming up in the first place, right? It's great to fix a problem, but how can you make sure it doesn't even come up? Like, what can you change in your API design process? What can you change in your product discovery process, to make sure that you don't even have this problem in the first place, right?
The same throttling policy cannot be applied to all services. You have to think about what is that API actually doing? Is the product behind that API actually meant to be a chatty product, right? So there is continuous interaction, or is it supposed to be more of a long-running request response kind of pattern? Understanding that has been very helpful for us in terms of understanding what kinds of policies work. So I think the best practices that we've learned from operating Azure APIs applies to developers everywhere. How can we shift left that kind of thinking all the way to the design of the APIs? That is something that we're really excited about because we think that will add a lot of value to developers.
It is really important to find a common language, and actually writing a lot more stuff down and writing things in really simple things and recommunicating the same messages, even while some of the metrics you might be using to show progress might evolve. In many ways, you want to anchor to a number of key themes that are really consistent.
In terms of consistency, it's a key topic. It's extremely important. We've put in place quality control, checks, milestones. So we look over APIs before we let them out the door because of that exact thing, because we're already up to, many dozens of APIs, and it can quickly get out of hand. Because a number of our customers will use more than one API, many of them. We're always thinking about, not using abbreviations and clarity in terms of, are we going to use a flat structure versus nested? And there's all these discussions we have such that the final product at least, is clear, simple, and easy to understand. Clarity above all. That's what I go by.
I would focus more on how to move on the XY coordinate and focus on other lower level things or base things first.
GraphQL requests are very explicit, so you actually write the query for down to the exact field that you want to interact with. And so if something does break, which it probably will still, if something does break, you can at least understand the intent of whoever wrote the code and figure it out a little bit easier. The explicit nature of GraphQL helped our team work a little bit better, and so it solved some performance, callback issues, things like that. And then, some developer experience issues as well.
One of the taglines in my writing around this new book is contagion of change. Taking the reflections over the last 2 years, that word contagion, normally very negative connotations, isn't it? I want to kind of re-own that and reframe that word and make it into a positive contagion of change that's good for business, good for society, and create shared value. And I think, the work we're talking about today, APIs, open source innovation, people coming together, supporting technology with education is a great way to make that a reality and scale it.
I follow pretty much a product marketing mindset there of sitting down, understanding their use cases, understanding their expectations, how we're positioning the API, figuring out which of the API calls are actually generating value for them. Of the API calls we have, which ones are the valuable ones? Which ones are the important ones? And then prioritizing around those.
I've been one of those developers who's been like, I have to pick up the phone. I have to go have a meeting. Maybe I'll just put something out there, and if there's a problem, I'll hear about it, and then I'll fix it. I've been in that seat, and it is very easy, but oftentimes the path of expedience is not the path of correctness. And so It begins with finding out who's going to use the thing, sitting down with that person and listening to what they say and what they need, because what they say might try and solution the problem before you actually get there.
Thanks for listening. If you have a question you want to ask, look in the description of whichever platform you're viewing or listening on, and there should be a link there so you can go submit a question, and we'll do our best to find out the right answer for you.